This right here is the active, this is the concentration on question, when you got questions. This is the brother that they are. Hello.
Thank you.
Yeah, the agenda. This one sticks out like this.
Showing about the policies. You all set? All right. The time is 6:33. I'd like to call this regular Board of Education meeting to order. The first item of business this evening is the roll call of those Board of Education members who are present. Trustee Goodrich, would you perform the roll call, please?
Certainly, Madam President. Trustee Townsend.
Here.
Trustee Schindler.
Here.
Trustee Fields.
Here.
Trustee Gainsley.
Here.
Trustee Goodrich, I am here. Vice President Lee.
Here.
President Hawkins.
Here. We have all Board of Education members present. Next, that takes us to the Pledge of Allegiance. And at this time, I would like to invite everyone who is here to join us in reciting the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, that takes us to the acceptance of the agenda. Is there a motion at this time?
President Lee, Vice President, President Hawkins, Vice President Lee, move that the Board of Education accept the agenda as presented.
Thank you. A motion has been made by Vice President Lee. Is there support for this motion? Thank you. Supported by Trustee Fields. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next, that takes us to achievements, awards, and recognition. We have Ford Early Learning Center here for their points of pride. And at this time, I would like to turn this over to Dr. Zachary Ross.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I'd like to invite the fine principal of this wonderful Early Learning Center, Ford Early Learning Center, to please come. Thank you. As Principal Young comes, we have a wonderful group of parents I see and staff members of Ford Early Learning Center. And Principal Young, will you please introduce your group that is along with you as you start your points of pride?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yes, we have a number of parents and staff that are here tonight, in particular about the Spanish immersion program. That is our first point of pride, but I do have a number of them. But would everybody that is representative of Ford please stand? So thank you all very much. So a couple of points of pride that I have, I'm gonna read the first one last because that's the one I really want to highlight. So we have a science club that has been started by Mr. Perry, who is our science teacher, and he is able to work with a group of students throughout the week as to where they're doing a deeper dive into science, into the science curriculum. So they will have some work that is showcased. We're going to have a event, which is our STEAM night that we will have in May that will showcase our arts, our engineering, technology, all the various pieces of Ford. We also have our Read with Kids initiative. So we have partnered with the Children's Literacy Network as well as Washington Promise for our Read with Kids program. And this partnership actually provides volunteers from Concordia University that reads with our students, and they support the literacy skills with our kindergarten students. This year, we've had some playground updates. In our first grade playground, there was not a playground structure there for the students to play on, but this year we were able to make sure that that happened. And we are also looking at other ways to improve our kindergarten playground, and there will be an improvement in our preschool playground happening this summer. Academic competitions, and Ms. Wilbanks is here, and she's actually our math Title I teacher. Ms. Wilbanks, can you please stand? She's back there. And so this is going to be our second annual academic competition. So she runs the Math Jeopardy competition, and is for first graders where they really dig into the standards. And so she's created a fun competition to help students really learn the standards. And so they will have that competition this week on Wednesday at 9 a.m. So if anyone is available to come through, please do so. And so it's really demonstrating the good sportsmanship and as well as the skills that students are learning this year for math. Also, we will have this year our sight word Olympics. So if you come to Ford, you'll notice there are sight words all along our walls and our windows where students are learning sight words. They're learning them in English as well as Spanish. And this competition will happen the last week of May. So we will have our sight word Olympics. We also have our BTN committee teams, and this here is really the heart of what drives the improvement of our school. And so we have a number of committees around attendance, around climate and culture. We have the, let me look at my notes, climate and culture team, the community partnerships and family engagement areas, as well as instructional improvement. And these are monthly meetings that are held among all of our teachers where they all take a part. And so that way we all have responsibility in making sure that our school improves. So everyone has a different area that they work in, and we have quarterly data meetings where all of the information and the initiatives and goals and where we're getting to and where we want to go, that happens quarterly. And we so happen to have one happening tomorrow where we will have our Q3 data meeting where we look at all of our data, all of the areas of the school, and we just want to make sure that no one slips through the cracks. So this is our way of having a net to capture all students to make sure that we're improving everything in the school. The other piece is our MTSS process. This year we improved that, and that's our multi-tiered systems and supports. So we improved that. It used to be part of the BTN committee, but we found that with only meeting once a month, it wasn't enough to support the needs of our students. So we implemented this year to have it happen weekly. So we have every Friday, there's a team, MTSS team that gets together, and we go through all of the submitted documentation that teachers have on various students, as well as their academic information, and just to be able to provide the proper supports that teachers need. So that is a very strong team that has been going extremely well this year. So all of these points have been going extremely well though, right? So what I wanted to really highlight though is our Spanish immersion program that started last year in kindergarten. And this year we expanded to preschool as well as first grade this year. And of course, it's going to grow with second grade next year. But we have a student here today with us, Jayla Hammis, and her teacher, Miss A, as we call her, Loli. And so I'm gonna ask you two to come up so you all can get a quick example of what our students are learning in the Spanish immersion program. So come on up.
Hey guys, my name is Jayla and today I'm going to read a Spanish book. And what it's about is Spanish, and what I've been learning about in my class is Spanish. So I'm going to start reading by the title, okay? So what the title says is Hábitats Acuáticos. Agua maravillosa. Todos los seres vivos necesitan agua para sobrevivir. Las plantas y los animales son seres vivos. Las plantas necesitan agua para crecer y estar sanas. Los animales necesitan beber agua. Algunos animales nadan y encuentran alimentos en el agua. Esta nutria marina encontró alimento en el agua. I read about plants and water. I read about plants and animals. They need water, the plants need water so they can grow and make more plants, and the animals need water so that way they don't die. Gracias.
Thank you all very much. So as you all can see, she's able to read that text totally in Spanish and able to translate and talk about what she's reading at the time. So that is the beauty of this program and how it is impacting our student, the community, YCS as a whole. And we greatly appreciate the opportunity to have that at Ford. Thank you all.
I just want to say thank you again for joining us. A special thanks to all of our students, our parents, our staff. If you all could just stand one more time so that we can give you all a round of applause.
May
Thank
I
you.
ask one question, please?
Yeah.
Before you leave, what grade is the young lady in, please?
Wow. Thank you so much and keep up the great work, Ford Early Learning Center. Next, that takes us to action items under student affairs. And we have an acceptance of a field trip request. Is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, Trustee Townsend, move that the Board of Education approve the field trip for Grizzly Scholars to Windsor, Ontario, Canada on June 17th, 2023.
Thank you. A motion has been made by trustee Townsend. Is there support for this motion?
Trustee Schindler, support.
Thank you. Supported by trustee Schindler. Any discussion on this item? Seeing,
Can we have some discussion?
oh, yeah, yeah. Dr. Zachary Ross.
Thank you. This is the Grizzly Scholars Program that we have started last year. If you could recall the white coat ceremonies that we started. This is all of our students. Oh, and we have Principal Kelly Mickle here, who has some of our fifth graders who are in her building. All of our fifth graders, we have, I believe, 5 fifth graders from every building are in this program. They meet at WISE once a month. And so the curriculum was created by the, how do you say the last name? I always say their first name. Germany Ballantyne Foundation. Part of the experience is that they go out of the country. So Ms. Haynes has been working to make sure that they all receive their passports. That's the first part of it. The students will during each session become, like at the elementary level, they go to Canada. They will then at the middle school level go to Europe, at the high school level, Asia. And so we are preparing them for this time to go to Canada. they'll go with the Valentine Foundation. They have the teachers and the peer pros are part of the chaperones. They have the School of Engineering from U of M as part of the people who are helping to make the curriculum. What else am I missing? And the summer camp. They went the first time, a part of their experience is going to the summer camp. So they went to U of M for their summer camp experience. So this is part of that matriculation so that they go to the longer experience. They'll be prepared to go to Asia.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any other board questions or comments? So we have a motion that's been made by trustee Townsend, supported by trustee Schindler. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next, that takes us to the WISD Parent Advisory Committee. And is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, Vice President Lee, move that the Board of Education approve the recommendation for Erica Courtney to the WISD Parent Advisory Committee.
Thank you. A motion has been made by Vice President Lee. Is there support for this motion?
Trustee Schindler, support.
Thank you. Supported by trustee Schindler. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, a motion was made by Vice President Lee, supported by trustee Schindler. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Thank you so much for your service and volunteering for this important Parent Advisory Committee. Yes, absolutely. Oh,
She wants to
okay.
make some-
Yeah, I wasn't sure if she was here. I'm glad she is.
It is with, good evening, first of all. It is with the utmost pleasure that I bring Ms. Courtney before you. We have waited 7 years for a parent volunteer, and she volunteered willingly. Ms. Courtney is the parent of a 6-year-old son, Jordan, in the ECSE classroom at Perry Child Development Center. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for stepping up and to serve in this important role. Next, that takes us to our first presentation for this evening, and that's our budget update presentation. I'll turn it over to Dr. Zachary Ross.
Thank you, Madam President. We are excited to be able to bring this presentation to the board. We know typically this time of year, we have a budget amendment. However, with our new director, he felt at this time, given he had been here for the 60 days, that he wanted to just present a budget update. And as he is gathering more information, he will present a budget amendment later on after he's met with the subcommittee and after he's had a better opportunity to take a closer look at the budget. But today there will be a budget update for the board. And thank you, Mr. Butler.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam President, Board Trustees. As the superintendent said, this is just a budget update because over the last 60 days, I've learned a lot more than I expected. But we're moving in the right direction. We're going to talk about how our budget is built, our expenditures, our revenue, and next board meeting we'll have more information, and we'll be able to forecast the 2023-24 budget and upcoming needs. All the information that we've developed so far has been with our financial management partners at the ISD, PFM, our auditor, Yo and Yo, and our various partners throughout the community. I did forget that quick. Our assistant superintendent of the ISD has joined us. Mr. Marcel is in the back. Mr. Trenton's also here to help me develop some of this information as well. We're gonna go through our overall summary, talk about our changes for our grants and our next steps. And there'll be an opportunity to discuss any questions you may have. We're working on our allocations of all our title funds, and we're working to draw down quite a bit of information because we've had a 6-month gap in having a director. So some things that we're putting together so that we can draw down and make sure our budget is in the right place. The important funds that we're dealing with is 31A funds, ESSER 2 and 3. ESSER 2 is in this last leg. We need to make sure that's allocated by the end of this school year. ESSER 3 by the end of next school year. We're focusing on our summer school and innovative programs. Teacher and stipends are a big part of keeping our staff in place. And our literacy grant is our LEAP grant, and our aspiring leaders is taken care of by SEEP. Again, those are all, we're working to draw all of those down so we can have the funds in a proper place. This small picture may look familiar to you because this is the budget that you all voted on last year for this school year. We are on track, but because of the gaps, we just haven't had time to break everything down to give you a down to the penny view of where we are. But our expenditures and our operations are all moving forward, working with the sinking fund and upcoming changes for transportation facilities, all those things. And these are our state funds. This is where we're getting our support from the state. One thing that I want to highlight here is that we're working diligently on the 38 Alpha Alpha mental health grant. All this is included in our drawdowns and getting everything into our budget system. But as I said, we're on track and there's nothing that looks out of the ordinary. It's just, I just haven't had an opportunity to get with the team and all the stakeholders to make sure we have proper information. So moving forward, we're going to continue to refine the budgets and our estimates for next year. As of now, we think next year is going to look very much like this year. We're in good shape. No need to worry. We're always going to look at staffing costs and looking at what it takes to move into the next year and make sure our students have the supports they need in the building. Drawing down grants, LEAP, SEEP, our mental health grants and all those things are very important to make sure that the federal grants that are on a different time schedule are all met. As I said, between now and the next board meeting, we'll have some committee meetings to talk more about the budget to make sure we are where we need to be. What questions might you have? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Butler. Next, that takes us to our Regional Alliance for Healthy Schools.
Thank you so
presentation,
much.
And I'll pass it over to Dr. Zachary Ross.
Thank you so much, Madam President. We know because of the pandemic, we had not had Roz visiting with us lately. However, we know we have our wonderful partners. We have a clinic at the middle school and at the high school. And so we're very happy to be able to have this presentation today. And so thank you so much for being here. We're looking forward to just continuing this close partnership with you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Angie Spence, and I am the Director for the Regional Alliance for Healthy Schools and also Associate Director for Community Health Services at Michigan Medicine. So today I put together just a brief overview of our program for understanding it, and I made it kind of short so that I can have a little time in the end for questions. So hopefully it's informative. Okay. my system sent it over in PDF. Wow. Oh, okay, great, thank you. See right there. Okay, so each one of our health centers are staffed by a nurse practitioner, physician, medical assistant, clinical social worker, and registered dietitian. Ypsi High is unique in that we have a Kellogg Eye Center in the Ypsilanti High School. And so Dr. Julia's pictured there, second to the last picture on the right there. So she's here at Ypsi High on Thursdays. You can go to the next slide there. So Ypsi Middle School, same structure, we just don't have our Kellogg Eye Center there, but we do have our mobile dental and vision services that come by the Ypsi Middle School there. So these are just a few pictures of our staff that are at the sites. I like to put a picture with the face. Our administrative staff here. So the support staff that we have for all of our sites, of course, we have myself there, our medical director, Dr. Steve Park. We have our RISE clinical social work manager, David Holkerson, our clinical nursing director, Dr. Nicole Speck, our operations coordinator, Ann Howell, our office manager, and then we have behavior health coordination. Brandon Carter is our behavior health coordinator. And then for our ancillary coordinated services, which are both vision and dental, we have our ancillary care coordinator. So a lot of supports there. So here's our mission and vision for the RISE program: to provide school-based health programs and clinical services that improve the well-being of students, their families, and communities. And with that, we want to make sure that our services are accessible, youth-friendly, and that we're employing the best staff to do the work here in the community. A little unique to your primary care health center to be in the community setting. So in total, we have 15 health centers between Genesee and Washtenaw County. We also have something that's really new, our virtual mental health center. It's housed within our pathways to success right in the school there, but it's totally virtual. And I added that here because I want to make sure that you guys knew that it's accessible to all youth in the community at large. And then, of course, we have our mobile center as well. These are a bit of the services that we do provide. So your normal primary care health services, sick visits, physical exams, immunizations, vision exams, dental cleanings. Vision exams meaning just the screening, and then you would go on to our vision services for a full vision visit and glasses if needed. Mental health services, both individual, group, and family therapy, psychotherapy, nutrition counseling, of course, because we have RDs on staff, community resources for tangible resources for those that may be struggling with the gaps for food, housing, clothing, those type of resources. So we will either make sure that the family has what they need, or that we'll refer them out for a community resource. And then, of course, insurance enrollment, which we all know. As of right now, those that are on Medicaid will be having to reapply for Medicaid, so because some of the supports that were put in place because of the pandemic will go away. And so we have a lot of our patients that will either have to reapply for Medicaid, they're unsure if they need to reapply. So we're gonna see that coming through and probably an uptick there, so we can help with that service. So just a little snippet. So last fiscal year, I wanted to provide the number of patients seen. So that's the unduplicate, the new patient that comes in the door. We saw 689 just between Ypsi Middle and Ypsi High. So this is specific to the Ypsi. And then there are a total of 3,160 visits. 42 patients were seen at our Kellogg Eye Center and received glasses. And remember, we were still in that pandemic time. So I think that's a really good number. Because most times we do accept walk-ins. During the pandemic, we stopped accepting walk-ins because we wanted to make sure that patients were screened and not coming into the schools. Of course, if they came in thinking that they were sick with COVID and they walk all the way through the school and then get to our health center. And so we were screening. So I think that's a really good number. 783 immunizations given. Those are actual pokes, not the person that got the immunization, but the actual pokes. We gave 783. Social work visits, a very high number. And then our registered dietitian visits. So this is last fiscal year. So Q1, because we just ended Q2 and I didn't have those numbers to add in my presentation over, but this is how we're looking for Q1 of this fiscal year, which I think the numbers look very good. So that's between October and December of 22. I did talk a little bit about the virtual health center. Want to make sure that you know and understand that it is available we do accept referrals from teachers, the staff at the schools, parents, we accept referrals. One thing that we do express is that if you are referring a patient over to, or a teacher or a principal is referring a student over to, that they or the counselor make contact with the family. And that's primarily because we don't want to cold call a family and just be like, we heard, and that kind of sets a divide there. So we want to make sure that the process is seamless. And once we get referrals or someone's patient self-presents and says that they would like mental health services, they have the option to use the virtual health center. Now, between the IPSI middle and the IPSI high, we usually have access for those that may go on the wait list. We'll find that patients may say, yes, I want to have a virtual visit. And in turn, what we've been doing with some of the school districts is we've been requesting a room. So a room that's secure, so that the patient can go in with their own laptop or school issue laptop and still have their virtual visit. Because again, the providers are not here, they're at the pathway. Service is not provided. Am I good on time? I'm sorry. Just want to make sure. Okay. So service is not provided. This one is really important. So follow up with health providers for students in with chronic illness in order to improve school care plans. We will manage and work with a primary care provider if there is a patient that has a chronic illness. This is simply saying that we will not do it in coordination with the school for a plan that the school may need to coordinate with the family. Unless, of course, there's a release of information in place and we're sitting at the table as one of the providers for the student, but we will not just take that over. Initiation of student care plans and documentation of care provided. So again, that would have to be something that a student that's 18 and over would initiate or a parent would initiate. Nursing services provided to students with special health needs, IEP. We don't initiate those. It is a plan of the school, and then we will be brought into as requested with a release of information from a parent. Administration of students' personal medications and our staff training for proper administration. So we don't administer meds throughout the day. It is something that the school nurse usually does. And with that, if there's training that's needed, we usually request that come from the primary care provider or the provider that is prescribing or requesting that this service happens during the business day. Why? Because a lot of times it's not just medication. It can be things for special needs. It's not our specialty. And so we want to make sure that those that are available within the school and the school has assigned has that specialty. If it's something rare, sometimes we will do things like CPR training, things like that to just refresh for the staff. We can do that, but not specific to individual patients. Student immunization records for general student population, reviewed for exclusions and updated regularly. So basically, it's just to say that we won't look at the records and say, oh, this meets the requirement for your school. That is something that the school needs to do. So we wouldn't just do that freely on our own. Completion of state or federal reports, meaning we won't be responsible for, hey, you put this part together every year in coordination with the school. If there's something you need for us, by all means, we will provide. Updated cumulative folders with required healthcare information. Again, that's a duty of the school to make sure that each child has what they need on file. So we won't maintain it is what that means. Registration process is important for any student that's going to be a patient of the Rise Health Center. They must have a parent or guardian consent on file unless they're 18 and over, and then they must have an adult consent on file or a minor consent on file. In the state of Michigan, minors can consent for STI treatment and testing, and then also mental health visits. So those are the only two things. A registration form, because that gives us a little bit more information about the patient. And then, of course, a health history questionnaire and a copy of a child's health insurance if they have it. RISE provides services. So basically, our services are from 0 to 21 years of age, the pediatric health center. And so those are the ages for pediatrics. No out-of-pocket expenses for our services. And Basically, what this means is that if you have insurance, you have a copay or deductible or any of those things, we will not collect out of pocket. We will bill your insurance if you have. But none of our patients are turned away for inability to pay or not having insurance. And then again, we offer medical insurance enrollment for state government and commercial insurance. So it's not just Medicaid. If someone needed, like assistance with the marketplace, we would do that as well. Did that in record time? Questions?
I have a question. Thank you for your presentation. With the physical examinations, do you all coordinate anything, say, for sports physicals? Do you all offer those type of physical examinations?
Yeah, so we offer sports physicals as well as HMEs, health maintenance exams. So we do both. Now, the school comes to us in coordination with the athletic director and say, hey, we want to do something like a physical blitz. Yes. Okay. So we would just need time in advance. You need a few physicians and nurse practitioners available because you're going to get a slew of kids, and it takes about 45 minutes for each physical.
Okay. Thank you.
And we've done it before. Yeah, we'll see how.
Another question, so you were about the hearing and vision, as far as vision and glasses at no cost. How does that program make that?
Yeah, so just like any other visit, the student can present and say, hey, I think I need my eyes checked. We'll give them a screening if we identify, yeah, there's a gap there, or they need to be treated. We'll have them go over to our ophthalmologist, have a full exam. If it's determined they need glasses, they'll pick out their glasses that day, and then the glasses will be sent over to the Kellogg Vision Center, and then they'll just be dropped off right at the school.
They'd have, for the glasses, they would have to go to the one in Main Lane. And that's it. So do they have them over here at the one up, the Kellogg Ice Cream, so they have a Clark Road? Do they offer glasses there as well?
Well, the way that it's set up is that we have in-kind donation of a certain amount of glasses, and there's a lot, and it's grown over time. And so the kids just like look at all these glasses and they just pick out the ones they want. If they lose them, we'll replace them. But because of the way that the program is set up for in-kind donation, not necessarily, unless, for some reason there was just none of the glasses fit or something strange, right? And then we would just try to make accommodations. We do have kids that break them just because they don't like them and don't like nothing in the game. My mom, and so they'll break them. And then it's like, okay, we'll give one more chance, or just tell us the truth. And then we may find something else that they like.
Yeah. For your mental health services, do you provide group therapy or individual therapy?
Yeah, so individual, group, and family psychotherapy, because these are clinical social workers, yes. Mhm.
I just want to say 3 of my kids have used the RAS clinics over the years, and we've always had a wonderful experience. So thank you.
Can I ask another question? You don't provide like any AA or NA? Yeah.
So, no, not at our
Okay.
sites. Prior to the pandemic, what we did provide was substance use education classes. And essentially what those were, well, it was like group. And what it was is that, so sometimes around homecoming, you guys are all educated, so you know, this is the truth. So around homecoming and things and different activities, you may find that it may get caught with something or smell like something. And so it's like, hey, instead of having a suspension or going down this path, we recommend that you go this way. And so the principals would just refer the youth up for we would have I think we had groups every 3 months, and they would just sign them up for one of the groups. As long as they attend and completed the group, then they were good to go, come back to class as long as they were signed up. But we don't do substance abuse treatment, but we will refer out if we deem that it's something that's needed and the student/patient is in agreement.
Thank you.
Any other board questions?
Thank you.
Thank you for this wonderful partnership.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Next, that takes us to the presentation on My Future Fund, Dr. Zachary Ross.
Thank you so much. Madam President, we are just really excited again about this partnership that we have in our county that we are going to be introduced to by Sarah Saylor, My Future Fund. This is a new opportunity for our students in Washtenaw County. And so we are excited. We've been starting this conversation. I know when I first came to this county, we've been doing it. I know when I was in another county, and they've been doing research and research and research. I know Brian Marcel was a part of just looking at how can we do this? In other states, they've been saying, you know, if a student just has a bank account, what a difference it will make. And so they found a way to ensure that this could happen, a way that even finds out equitably what could happen if for students in our district specifically, one of our districts gets an extra bonus. So listen closely here. And so students at YCS will really benefit from this opportunity. And so I'm just really grateful for this chance. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Superintendent Zachary Ross. Trustees, it's great to be with you tonight. I know we're figuring out some tech issues, but I'll go ahead and get started with a little preview of what we're going to talk about tonight. So again, my name is Sarah Saylor. I'm the My Future Fund or Children's Savings Account Coordinator for the Washtenaw Intermediate School District. I use she, her pronouns. And I'm just really, before we get started, I have a personal story or connection to this work. I was thinking about how when I was in school and I was dreaming about what I was going to be when I grow up, right? And maybe in your work with students, those conversations are happening. I was going to be a lawyer. I was going to save the environment. I was going to be a teacher. There were all kinds of things that I dreamed about doing. And then when I started thinking about college, there were conversations in our house about what type of college, what was that going to look like? But then also there was the conversation about how are we going to pay for it? I grew up in a small town in mid-Michigan. I had a single mom. And so those conversations were really real about how are we going to afford college? How are we going to make this happen? And as a mom of two boys, I feel like that conversation started even earlier for us with the rising cost of higher education expenses. And I know that those conversations are happening with families across our community. They're asking that question, how are we going to pay for this? How do we plan for this? And so I think that My Future Fund is an opportunity for our community to support families as they answer those questions about how they're going to pay for higher education. All right. So I know that trustees, you have the packet with the presentation. All right. So I will just continue to share with you around that. So let me talk to you a little bit about what My Future Fund is. So My Future Fund is a program that is operated by the Washtenaw Intermediate School District in collaboration with Washtenaw County government. Our purpose of this program is to give students enrolled in Washtenaw County public schools and public school academies a jumpstart on saving and planning for future college and career training. Utilizing almost $3 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds and $3.78 million from the county's general fund, the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners has provided this initial investment as part of their commitment to equity in Washtenaw County. Oh, awesome. Thank you. All right, let's see if oh, look at that. All right, tech challenges. Thank you so much. So I'm excited that tonight there are members both from our WISD staff as well as Washtenaw County here in support of this program. And also I want to highlight our advisory board, our advisory committee that has been working really hard to help provide feedback and recommendations for this work. We have several YCS connected folks on our community advisory committee who are really instrumental in providing that on the ground feedback for how this program can look. And so I just want to pause for a moment and have all of our My Future Fund connected folks give a little wave in the public. All right, thanks, My Future Fund connected folks. So My Future Fund is based on a researched model of children's savings account programs. These programs are across the country, across the country, that are really working towards providing those opportunities for students in their saving for post-secondary education. So our goals here in Washtenaw County is to provide equitable opportunities to local students and families. It is our ambitious goal that My Future Fund will help increase college expectations, increase the number of students completing post-secondary programming, help bring families and parents into the financial mainstream by providing tools around how to save and think about college savings, and also address those educational disparities that really were exacerbated by COVID-19 by helping to increase those resources to students in high poverty districts. So My Future Fund has a few program elements. The first one that's really exciting is our My Future Fund account. So every eligible elementary student is going to automatically receive a free My Future Fund account with an opening deposit of $25. These funds are held collectively on behalf of students by the Michigan Education Savings Program and managed by TIAA Craft Tuition Financing. So that the students are going to receive these $25 deposits and they're held on their behalf in this fund. They will be able to withdraw that money after high school for qualified college and training expenses. Families are going to be able to view their savings in the My Future Fund portal, and additional bonuses may be available with future funding so students can really grow their savings over time. Another component to the My Future Fund program is our COVID recovery deposit. So some students may qualify for an extra $475 based on their family's household income. We'll be using the supplemental eligibility determination in the Michigan Student Schools data system, that's a mouthful, to determine students who are eligible for that. But parents and guardians, because this is part of the student record, will have to consent for us to access that information to even determine their eligibility. So that will be an important role for us to work with schools around, is how to make sure that we're able to get that consent for families. And so that COVID recovery deposit will run through the 2025-26 school year, so up for the next 4 years. We also are going to provide ongoing support to families about how do they save and plan for college and career training through a collaboration with the Michigan Education Savings Program. So they'll provide resources to families about starting their own individual MESP accounts. We'll provide workshops and events in schools and community spaces, and also support schools and districts on all the important and amazing work you're doing around financial literacy and career development instruction. So just a little bit more on the My Future Fund accounts. This year, all students in 1st through 5th grade in YCS will receive their free account. And then we'll enroll in future years 1st graders and students who are new to the district, but their cohort maybe already got an account. We're going to use the yearly October enrollment data from the MSDS system to register students for this program. We're going to populate their accounts using the directory information as outlined in your board policy. So we'll take that information to populate their accounts. We will give families the opportunity to opt out if they do not wish to participate. And one of the asks that we have of you, of this district and all districts, is to provide the information about families who've already requested to be opted out from directory information, so we don't put them into the accounts without their permission. So here's our enrollment schedule. So again, a big year this year for YCS, and then 1st graders moving forward. And I think the success of this program is really going to be built on our relationships with schools and with the community. In your packets, I know you've received your MOU that outlines the roles and responsibilities for the My Future Fund program as well as YCS. So our role as My Future Fund is to provide all of the operations, the communications, the logistics, the templates, the activities for our families and students in our community. And YCS, what we're looking to you for is to approve that we can access the data that we've outlined, that you're helping us do outreach in your schools, providing opportunities for backpack flyers and newsletters, and to work together on that financial literacy and career development activities. Over the next 4 years in this first startup phase of this program, over $900,000 will be invested in the futures of YCS students. We have a really robust timeline. April, we're finalizing MOUs. Our hope is to launch in middle of May, and launch is helping families learn about the program, opting out if they would like, and signing the consent form for us to determine their eligibility. The accounts are activated this summer. We'll be doing lots of summer outreach and fall outreach, and hope that we can partner with schools to do that. And then winter is it's getting ready for year 2. This is a long-term program with kids and families. So we know that we're rolling this out this year, but our work with families from that first grader or that second grader all the way until they get ready to graduate from high school is our work together. And so as we think about how we're helping families answer that question, how am I going to pay for this? How do I plan for this? This is our community's opportunity to really work with students and families and community organizations and schools and local government to help students think about their dreams and know that they have an entire community behind them to achieve those things, taking one small step at a time. And so I'm really excited that I got to chat with you tonight about this. I'm happy to take questions and provide any additional clarification that you may need.
Thank you. Any board questions?
I have a few questions. So with this program, if it's similar to the state of Michigan's program, I'm assuming, is there a requirement in regards to what school the kids go to in order to access this fund? So is it limited to just Michigan schools, or can they use it for out of state?
Yeah, so they're able to access these funds for any qualified institution of higher education, for trade school, for apprenticeship programs. So it can be a 2-year college, a 4-year college. So yes, the answer is yes, they can use these funds when they request it for any, sort of place of higher education in state and out of state. And they can also use it to, if you're doing an apprenticeship and you need a certain type of tools or equipment to do that, these funds can help provide that, or for technology, as an example, if you needed a computer.
Okay. And my other question is, if they leave the district, how are those funds, are we still responsible for managing those funds? Are they able to take it with them to another district? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a really important question that our community advisory committee is actually helping us work through. They have recommended it's really important that if students, receive those funds, that they get to keep those funds to use if they do exit the county. One of the tasks we're trying to figure out is, are there certain steps that a family would need to take in order to retain those funds? So for example, if you do leave a Washtenaw County school, you log into your My Future Fund portal and you check a box that says, yes, I would still like to use these funds, just so that we are able to keep up with them. Because it'd be really hard if in first grade, they receive it, they leave in second, and then by the time they're ready to use it at age 20, we've lost track of them, right? So there will be a process. We're working with our advisory committee to really fine tune of what that policy would look like.
Okay, and then my last question is, I'm assuming with the expectation of the setting up, this is an investment account. We would be teaching parents, like, you would need to set up, say, an automatic deposit. Will that automatic deposit be something like the minimum amount? Will that be something that is realistic for the demographics in our community?
Yeah.
So for instance, is the minimum amount they can deposit $5 versus, in most of these counts, I know with the state of Michigan, it was $25. So I just want to make sure that conversation is happening.
Yeah, that's a great conversation piece that we're definitely having with our partners at the Michigan Education Savings Program. So they'll be the ones that are working with families to set up their individual accounts. The My Future Fund accounts, families are not going to be able to directly deposit into the account that the WISD is stewarding on their behalf. That will just be funds from community partners, from local government, that they can access when it's time to go to college or career training. If families choose to open their own MESP investment account, then the state program will work with them around how to set those accounts up. And we are in conversation with them about how to make that accessible to our families in this community.
Thank you.
But I'll definitely flag that for them as a concern. Yeah.
I think you just alluded to it, but my question was gonna be if this is set up in such a way, it sounded like it is not set up in such a way that a family could also use this as an account for additional savings, like make additional deposits into it for tax preferred savings. Is that true? This is only for government sources, or can families also put into the same account?
So families will not be able to deposit directly into the My Future Fund account that we've set up, but we are going to work really hard to help them find ways to save sort of concurrently. And some other CSA programs do really great work around matching. So they might say, if you deposit X amount of dollars into your individual account, then your children's savings account program will match that maybe 2 to 1. And so that's something that we'll work on kind of in our next rollout of how to really help encourage families do that individual savings, because we know that's also really important. Yeah.
So you're saying the My Future Fund account that you set up would be like a trust account with only the child's name on it? So you cannot touch that account until the child reaches a certain age? Is that what you're saying? And then the money will be available to only that child. So that child's name will be the only name on that account? Is that what you're saying?
So the way it'll work is the account is an omnibus account, which is a large account that we're holding all of the funds for. And we're letting families know this is the amount that we'd allocated to you for use for college or career training when it is time to graduate. In a way, it's sort of almost like a pre-scholarship, right? We're holding the money for those children until they're ready to use it. So it's not their money until they request it and then withdraw it to use in their higher education expenses.
Right. So the government is continuing to deposit into that account, right?
So the Washington County government will allocate that initial $25 and then the COVID recovery deposit. And then as we fundraise for additional funds, maybe through community organizations, philanthropy, there will be opportunities for us to deposit additional dollars into their accounts. Into that sort of shared, it's like one big pool of funds that then is divided up for each child that's ready for them when they're ready to exit for college and career training. And I have a question. Am I allowed to ask for like phone a friend during the board meeting? Yeah, Brian, is there anything else I'm missing about how the omnibus account is set up?
I don't think so.
Hi, Brian.
I don't think so. I think you did a pretty good job explaining it. There will be a large omnibus account with all of the funds, not only from the students from YCS, but from all the other students who are also eligible around the ISD. We will have software that they will be able to log in and see their individual share of what that account is. And as Sarah's indicating it, that isn't really theirs until the time that they actually are gonna leave. So no one could access that. Their parent isn't going to be able to just take it out for any reason. Whatever the circumstance might be, it's going to need to be for that student for the purpose of higher education, career training, whatever that is, and whatever that eligible expense might be.
That child who's 18 or whatever, when he goes to trade school or college, then he gets that money.
Yep,
Okay.
that's correct. Yep. Good question.
My question is there like a threshold or a limit? You know, like if they, so they will maybe 2 year or 4 year, it's only, or they only get $1,000 a year, or whatever the amount is. Is there an amount that's just a specific amount? Because what I keep hearing is they have this money, but of course we know that's not really true, right? You know, they're only gonna get a certain amount. What is that threshold or that limit? Or is there one?
Right. I mean, I think that will depend on the funds that we're able to raise and put into those accounts for the students. I know other CSA programs, some of those programs have several $1,000s available for students to use. So if the money is there and allocated to the student and they need to take it out to use for their higher education expenses, there is an amount that we're saying, well, once we hit $1,000, then we're done and that you only get $1,000. It really will match what we're able to raise and provide in those accounts for them.
So could a student physically finish school with it? You understand what I'm going through
Mhm.
with that? Could they possibly finish college on a 2-year, whatever's in there? Or is there, again, amounts? So that's what I'm kind of saying.
Right.
Is that an opportunity for them, or does it just depend on the student and what they're going?
I think it's
Is
going to
everybody-
depend on the student and also how much money has been allocated for them specifically. Some schools will have some colleges, $1,000 maybe will cover the books for college if we are able to raise money to have $1,000 in each student's account.
So it's not necessarily for the student, it's more for the things that are going to use this.
It's for anything related. So they could pay their tuition, part of their tuition with it. They could pay for things that are related to it. It's really up to the student to decide how they want to use those funds to supplement or add on to what they already have. So maybe a student has some additional financial aid, and this helps put some additional funds towards their expenses.
Just need a clarification, because somebody might think that, listening to that, oh, my school's gonna be paid for. I mean, and that's not really what it is. So, you
Right.
know what I mean? So you really have to be clear for those people, for those parents who may ask this question. They hear about this, say, oh, we don't have to worry about anything. We got this money. We're gonna just go to school with this. But you have to be clear as to what specifically is not necessarily gonna pay for the whole thing.
Right.
But it's gonna help supplement what they're gonna.
Yeah, that's a great, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's clarification is really important.
I don't mean to bombard you with another.
No, this is great. These are the questions
So,
we need.
When we talk about the income requirements,
Mhm.
will the conversation be specific to the income limits, the poverty limits, or what are low income limits in this particular community? Or is it gonna be averaged out by the county?
In terms of their COVID recovery deposit,
Well, yes, in regards to what they qualify, if they meet that requirement, income based wise.
right? So the way that we're using the supplemental nutrition eligibility status, which connects to free and reduced lunch, or for students who are in community eligible districts, I think it's their direct information report. There's some other type of form that they fill out. Am I correct on that? That because everybody's getting free and reduced lunch, there's that additional form that folks fill out, or if they receive direct certification. So it's connected to that particular status that's already in the MSDS. So we're not going to ask families kind of overall what their income is. We're using that status to determine their eligibility. So either if there's a yes next to that, then they'll be eligible for the COVID recovery deposit. And then if not, then they won't. So they won't have to submit additional paperwork other than filling out the consent form.
Okay, so this is a conversation for later, but just because YCS schools, all of our
Yeah.
kids get
So-
free and reduced lunch.
So we're community eligibility, but we have 74% that we have direct serve. So 74% will get the $475.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank
Trustee
you.
Gaisley, and then who is next?
Thank you so much.
Trustee Gaisley, Trustee Schindler, Vice President Lee, do you have your hand up? too?
No.
Oh, okay.
So this, it's really exciting, and I know a lot of the research behind it has shown that, how much of an emphasis on higher education it can create to have even that amount of money. So I'm excited to see this happening. I'm hoping you can help me check my math. So you mentioned there was 3 million, from Recovery Act fundings, and then another 3+ from the county. The total investment in YCS is 900,000. So I know this was intended to be a heavy investment in the east side of the county. Where's the other 5 million going?
Right. So it's over 4 years. It is both, all the districts that have the free and, every district who has free and reduced lunch are public school academies. So all of those investments are also going to those schools. I'm happy to crunch the numbers and share back with you. I don't have all those numbers in my head tonight, but I'm happy if that's a question that you have, we can make sure to get that information back to you.
Yeah, I would just love to
Mhm.
see like how this is being distributed on an equity
Yeah.
basis.
Yep.
Thanks.
For sure.
Trustee Schindler.
Thank you. I agree. That's a great question. My question is, who guarantees this?
Mhm.
Like,
That's my
could this go away in 3 or 4 years and the kids are expecting money and it just doesn't, it just fizzles out.
So the funds that we're investing in the students in this first 4 years, those funds will be there for them when they are ready to graduate
I
from
mean,
high
but who
school.
guarantees that?
Who guarantees that? The funds, I guess this is another phone my friend conversation. I appreciate all of these questions. This is a new program and, as much as we think we're thinking through all of the things, this is exactly what we need is to hear these questions. And so I really appreciate that you're spending the time to dig in with us tonight.
Yeah, there is, you can't say that there's a guarantee. I mean, it could be if the financial markets go in the toilet, then the money would go away. There is no, I would have to sign off on, from an internal control standpoint, I would have to sign off on something and Sarah would have to sign off on something in order to be able to withdraw any of the money, even to give to one single student when they come to request it. So there are internal controls also built into the system to make sure that, Sarah just doesn't write something to her kids or, I write something to my grandkids or something, so that there is a control built into that to not have that happen. But there is no like FDIC guarantee or something like that. The advisory committee is going to consider what the investment type is going to be, and we're down to really two options. One is to be what they call an age-based investment. So they look at, oh, well, these kids are going to graduate in 2030, and then they would put it into potentially a portfolio that would include probably some equity stock kind of investments, some bonds, and then probably something, even more stable than bonds. They would put that out there, and it would be based on the age of when those kids are going to hit their graduation year. That's really what that base is. The other option they have is to look at what's a guaranteed investment, which would then be more secure, but also does not have the opportunity for level of growth as well. So they're going to have to weigh that out. We are not making that decision as ours. That's why we involved community members from all across the county to help us make that decision and figure out what they feel is best for the population in our county.
Thank you. That was helpful. We just heard over the years, many, many things aimed at helping the kids get, more money for college or any money for college or lots of things have floated by and there's not really a lot that has panned out. So
Yeah,
You know.
the other helpful thing is one of the reasons we wanted to partner with the Michigan Education Savings Program. Most people have had some level of knowledge or commercial or solicitation, or they're investing already, like somebody's usually heard of them. And that money is held by them in trust for the students. So that I feel really good about that. There's also a control that we made sure was going to be there for them, which was they're not actually holding the money. There's actually a trustee that actually holds the money for, outside of their organization. So the two have to come and meet and talk and say, here's how much we say there is, and here's how much they say there is. So that's another internal control that's also built in.
great. Thank you.
Vice President Lee?
One more question before you leave. Where would the $475 COVID relief or COVID recovery?
So that is that deposit comes from the American Rescue Plan Act funds.
Okay.
And so those funds will also be deposited in the My Future Fund account for the students. So students who get the $25 and then the COVID recovery deposit will have $500 invested in their My Future Fund account.
But that's not all the students, because it says some students may qualify.
Right. So that's not every student. Those are the students that qualify based on their supplemental nutrition eligibility status or the 74%.
That's our direct certified students.
That's guaranteed.
If they're eligible.
If they're eligible.
Mhm.
Okay.
I just have a few questions. One, I noticed on the MOU, it says, and this is aside from the $475. The first line of the MOU says the Future Fund is a new program that will give certain students enrolled in Washtenaw County Public Schools a jump start on saving and planning for future college or career training. What is intended to be meant by the language certain students if it's saying that all students are eligible?
So it's all students who attend a public school district, or a school in a public district, or a public school academy.
Okay, so
So
that's.
those are the certain students, are students that attend a public school.
So long as you reach that eligibility threshold, you'll be eligible for that.
You'll be eligible to receive an account and that initial $25 deposit.
Okay, thank you. What is I'll ask this question and then I'll ask my next one. If students access this money, they go through they stay in the county, they want to go to college, trade, whatever they want to do, has there been consideration to this money that they're able to access? Will it reduce their need for financial aid eligibility? Because often when you get a grant, a scholarship, it reduces your need. So is this going to be counted against students if they receive this? Or is that a consideration that they've thought through to make sure this doesn't adversely impact their eligibility?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I know that, that is a consideration that we'll have to educate families around. While the accounts are held in this larger omnibus account, because it is not the student's funds yet, it won't impact them initially, but there could be an impact once they withdraw the funds to use, for their higher education expenses. So part of our goal in educating students and families, and the rules around this change kind of, I think, quickly around financial aid. And so when it gets closer to the time for students being able to access those funds, we have a plan to really make sure that we're very clear with them about what that looks like when they withdraw it, what types of, forms and different things they'll have to fill out regarding their future financial aid.
Okay.
So that is a consideration we're working through, but it's hard to know in 7 years what that might look like for that first cohort of students.
Okay. And then my last two questions are, I'm assuming that from now until this rolls out, there will be a number of education, workshops, awareness, advocacy, understanding what this means throughout the community.
Yes, that's our hope, is to provide lots of education opportunities for families. And again, because this is a long-term program, there isn't something that says in May you have to instantly be registered, log in, be ready to go this summer.
Right.
That it is really about, we want to get these accounts opened for families. That's step one, is get them opened, because we can automatically enroll families into the accounts. And then start to really do that robust education and relationship building over time, so that families understand what's available to them, how to access it, how to utilize it, and then how to supplement with additional savings.
Okay. And my very last question is, for those students who move out of state, not in Michigan, and I know you haven't figured out yet how that money is going to stay with that particular student. Say they determine that the students cannot access that money because they no longer live in the state or in the county. What happens to that money?
So any funds that aren't used, by the time, either because students have moved out and they didn't, say, I would like to keep my account open, or they, don't use it later on for their higher education expenses, it would roll back in to that larger pool of funds for for my future fund students. So it would go back into the sort of collective account,
The pot, the
the
big
pot for everybody. So it would still be available for additional expenses for future students.
Okay. And once you get an answer on what will happen in real life with that, then people will know.
Yes.
Okay.
And our advisory committee, we actually meet with them tomorrow, and they're going to help us sort through some of that piece around leaving the county and how we would
Right.
account for that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other board questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you. And my contact information is in the packet. So if other questions come up, I know we've spent a good chunk of time here, but if you're driving home and something comes up, please feel free to reach out to me. I would be happy to continue to be in dialogue.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next that takes us to our first public comment portion for this evening. And before I call people up, I'll read the public comment protocol, which is as follows. Pursuant to Board of Education Policy 0167.3, the board recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express their views. Please limit statements to 3 minutes in duration. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. No person may address or question board members individually, and all remarks shall be made in a respectful and professional manner. First, we have, is it Jahari? Did I pronounce that correctly? Please come to the mic.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Ndiyo, sisi tunakuja hapa kwa sababu ya kuongelea kuhusu usafiri wa watoto wetu kwenda shule.
We come here this evening to talk about the children, about the buses issue.
Sasa hivi sisi tuna shida sana kwa sababu ya usafiri wa watoto wetu, wanakuwa wanaenda kwa wiki, utakuta ni mara moja shuleni.
We have issues with the buses because our children go to school once a week because of the buses.
Na kwa hivyo na sisi nao tuna majukumu ya kwenda kazini. Tukipeleka watoto shuleni, tunabidi tuende kazini kwa sababu tupate zile pesa na sisi za kulipa nyumba za watu.
And we have we want our kids to go to school because we have a job to go and we have to pay the house. So it's kind of really hard for us to stay with the kids and we are going to work.
Mtoto akikosa kwenda shuleni, hivyo na mimi sina mtu mwenyewe nitamwachia mtoto, inabidi nikae na mtoto wangu nyumbani kwa sababu sina mtu wa kusema eti anaweza kanisaidia kuchukua yule mtoto, kumshika yule mtoto. Inabidi mimi nichelewe kwenda kazini ili nibakie na mtoto wangu pale nyumbani.
If the kid doesn't go to school, I have to stay with the kid because I don't have somebody else to take care of the kid. So come a problem with me go to work.
Tulikuwa tunawaomba mtusaidie usafiri kwa sababu sisi wengine tunategemea watoto wakienda shuleni, sisi tunaenda makazini juu tupate ile pesa kidogo ya kuwaletea chakula nyumbani, ya kuwanunulia chochote kile kenye watoto wanataka kama vile nguo, kila kitu. Sasa watoto wakikosa kwenda shule, itabidi na sisi nao tutafukuzwa katika nyumba za watu na kupanga. Juu hatuna pesa za kulipa.
I would ask you if like you can fix the issues of the buses because I have to go to work so I can buy food for the child and pay the rent and other stuff. So we want to ask you guys we can help us about the bus issues.
Tulikuwa tunawaomba mtusaidie sana kwa hivyo sisi wenyewe tuna usafiri wa kupeleka watoto kwa masomo na magari yetu.
We are asking so you can help us because we don't have a car to drive our kids at school. So we were trying to ask if you can help us to fix the bus issues. That's all. That's all.
Thank you for your comments. Next, we have Rebecca.
Habari za jioni.
Good evening.
Na mimi ni kama hivyo tu jinsi mwenzangu alivyosema kuhusu huo usafiri wa watoto.
We also have the same issues about the buses.
Kuna watoto wanasumbuka sana. Kuna mara kuikiwa wanaenda mara moja shuleni.
She said that the kids go to school once a week. Each week, the student that the bus doesn't come.
Ndio langu na mimi hilo la kuhusu usafiri wa watoto.
And that's the only problem we have about buses. That's all we're gonna do this year. Okay.
Thank you for your comment. Next, we have Charlotte.
Sambuyo.
Good evening.
Sasa na mie niko mama wa watoto tano.
Also, I'm a mother of 5 children.
Sasa swali langu inafananisha na hawa wa ndugu zangu.
My question is also the same as my
Shida zetu ziko pamoja.
that is just one.
Niko na mtoto anasoma, ticha wake mzee huyu. Nasema ticha anampenda sana mtoto, anajifunza mzuri, alitaka iwa kusema Kiingereza, pia hatujui hata kimoja.
He said that his other kid is 5 years old, and that's a teacher up there. And the teacher is one of kids from the school, but he doesn't have the bus social like to the school, and our kids want to learn how to speak English and how to say things.
Sasa kwa machache sitasema mengi. Mtoto mie na ile juma usiku moya kuko anamaliza siku aende shuleni, maliza juma yote aende shuleni.
I don't have anything to say, but I'm trying to say that
Anakosa basi.
each week, one day a week.
Naenda
the bus is free.
naenda kutega basi, nasimama kubarabara, baridi nanipigia pale, nakosa namrudisha kwenye.
Or she went to the bus stop, the place that they told her to start, to go to the bus, wait to the bus, and then the bus not gonna cancel, go back home.
Kama vile huyu mama anasema baba yake hataenda kukazi, atashinda na ikara naye na wengine watoto wenye watakuwa wanabakia nao wataenda kumasomo, baba yake ashinde nao, hataenda kutumika ili tupate pesa za kulipa nyumba za watu.
Her husband will not go to work to with the kids because the issues with the bus. So her husband these days doesn't go to the job because of the issues with the bus.
Sasa tunakuwa na waomba mtusaidie kabisa, watoto waende shuleni wapate basi, na sisi tupate maisha, waiwe kusoma na kuandika, na sisi wakuwe na tutafsiria, na sisi tujue tuwatafutie maisha.
So actually, you can help us to fix that bus issue. So one day the kids are gonna go to school and learn English, so they can start to translate them one day English, in Swahili English to anything.
Hitaji langu ni ile, sina mengi ya kusema.
That's the only help I really need about the bus issue. I don't have anything to say. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you, President.
Yes, thank you. Next we have Ellen.
Hello, my name is Ellen Forsman. I teach the K-1 newcomers class at Ford. The newcomers class is for English language learners with limited English proficiency. The majority of the students who join my full-day class are not able to answer the question, "What is your name?" when they arrive. Within 2 or 3 months, they are able to understand and answer simple questions. Now in April, several students are emerging readers and have math skills comparable to their English-only peers. The families I work with are resilient, hardworking, and determined to improve their lives. When I asked these families at our fall conferences what they wanted for their children, they all said, learn English and have friends. Tragically, during the spring conferences, 5 of my families stated, have bus service and go to school. The system is failing our students who need us the most. Please do not lean on the fact that transportation is not legally required of the district. I look to the board to make equitable bus service their #1 priority for the remainder of the school year. The lack of consistent and dependable bus service has had a devastating effect on 7 of my students whose families don't have cars. My students live an average of 3.5 miles from school and all cannot safely walk to school. I have 5 students who have not been to school in 3 weeks. Let me say that again. I have 5 students who missed 3 weeks of school due to no bus service. If you include the power outage at Ford and spring break, that is 5 weeks in a row without school. As a teacher, I cannot sit back and wait. This bus situation has systematically negated Tier 1 instruction for these students, as well as school breakfast and lunch. It isolates students and also creates additional burdens when parents work. I respectfully ask that the school board make transportation equitable across the district. The east side of the district is shouldering the greatest burden of no school service, bus service. I respectfully ask you to think way outside the box. Can you, your friends, social or religious organizations pitch in to fill in the gap while we are without these bus services? Can there be a systematic way that all students in the district shoulder this burden? Is there a way to prioritize students who do not have cars? The system is failing our students who need us the most. I look to you to find a creative solution for the remainder of the school year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment this evening. Are there any other public comment cards that have come in, Ms. Haynes? Thank you. You have to fill out a public comment card, please. Jim Russo,
Thank you. I apologize for not knowing to do that ahead of time.
that's okay.
I live other side of Ann Arbor, so it's a 15-minute drive though for me to get here. But at least 20 times in the last month, I've gotten a call from a family, and I've hopped in my car and driven to Ipsy to pick up the student and drive them to school. It's important for kids to have school. And I can't, on my own, take care of all of these kids whose buses don't run, but I'm willing to do what I can. And there must be other people who can do that. So I urge you to hear these pleas and help organize something so these kids can have an education. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next, that takes us to our consent agenda for this evening. Is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, I move that the Board of Education approve the March 13th, 2023 regular board meeting minutes, personnel matters as per the presented list dated 3/27/2023, new hires and resignations.
Thank you. A motion has been made by trustee Fields. Is there support for this motion?
Support, Vice President Lee.
Thank you. Supported by Vice President Lee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next, that takes us to item 9, under discussions. We have our third reading of our Neola policy updates. At this time, I'll turn the discussion over to the chair of our policy subcommittee, trustee Schindler.
Thank you, Madam President. Okay, so we are doing our third read, and Julie kindly changed the titles of the different documents. So if they are not clear to you, that is on me. But basically, so 1616, if you click on that one, it says new because that is not an update of a policy. That's a new policy to adopt. And on the second read, we just sought clarity on what we were and were not adopting. And so there is that clarity in the copy of the policy that is attached. But then it says, new clean for third read. And so if you click on that, you'll get the policy that we are intended to be voting on tonight. And that's the student dress code. That is not, it just removes all talk of gender because we're just not going to discriminate based on gender per our non-discrimination policy. So that was one that had a bunch of questions, not a lot of clarity the last time. So I'm pulling that one out. But then you can see the rest of them all have a copy that says clean for third read. So you can check on them, but I don't think any of the rest of them had the same concerns. So I just pulled out 1616 for a special look. So does anyone have questions or comments on any of these? Like I said last time, some of them are boilerplate. The one on federal grants and funds, for example, is just, we just sort of have to do it, 6325, but some of them are at our discretion. So comments, questions? Okay. There's some coming up that we're going to do the second read on.
You want to go straight to the second read? Of the setup?
Yeah, oh yeah, sure, thank you.
Mhm.
Yep, thank you. Okay, so this one's a little, okay, let me walk you through this one. So 044.1 was the one where trustee Townsend asked for clarification, and rightfully so, on the, so we actually tabled discussion until we could get more information. So if you open up that policy, what I have on board docs is the old one, and then what you have in front of you is one that has been amended to reflect the answer to that question. So the district asked Roy Henley, our lawyer, to weigh in on the answer to the question, and then the policy committee, well, specifically President Hawkins and I worked together to get the language as concrete as possible because it came in lawyer language. And then the policy committee and the superintendent took a look at it over the weekend. So this is the language that we found. So it's on the back of your packet. Board members are paid for regularly scheduled and special board meetings, as well as meetings for board committees. And that's per the policy that we already have in place. For Ypsilanti Community Schools, they are not paid for their attendance at meetings of other boards or educational opportunities, even if associated with board service. Board members can be reimbursed for travel and expenses for other board meetings and educational opportunities related to board service, for example, Washtenaw School Board, MASB, and so forth. So, so that's the difference. You can't be paid to go to those meetings, but you can be reimbursed for that travel and those expenses if that's part of your board duties. Does that make sense?
You said travel and expenses. So basically you're reimbursed for mileage?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, but not attending the meeting.
Correct. Because that doesn't fall under the policy of the payment, because it's not an Ypsilanti school board meeting.
But is it required? So then the reason why I'm asking this specifically is because it is encouraged that board members participate in WASB and MSASB board activities to represent the district. So,
That's why there's reimbursement for the
just
travel.
for the travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Travel and expenses. And of course, like for the MSB conference, the board or our registration fee is paid by the district.
But what if COVID we're on a Zoom meeting for 2 hours plus. I don't get reimbursed for travel from my seat to
Yeah, right.
somewhere in my house.
I hear you. Yeah,
Okay.
this was the answer from her. So this was the clarification.
Other questions?
Just, I guess, a comment. I really always appreciate trustee Schindler's work on the policy committee, because
Yeah.
I know it's very detail oriented. I just appreciate all you do for it. And I especially appreciate having this clarification. I know it's been in the news a couple times recently that there were boards, other places on the west side of the state that had been abusing this policy. And we're charging the district for things like going to a football game or going to read to students for March's Reading Month. And so like, just, we're really, abusing the policy, and it had become a problem and hit the newspaper. And so, I'm glad that we're reviewing this now when there isn't a problem, and can just be really clear about what those, reimbursements are for.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, luckily that we've never had any issues like that on this board. But yeah, I think it's good to just have clarity. I think there was an excellent question. So this was the answer that we got. So that's what we put in the policy.
Is everyone comfortable with the language, or are there any? Okay.
For the record, I want to just say that, you know, there's a lot of work that has to be done countywide. And a lot of it, especially when we're talking about what needs to be done for YCS when it comes to advocating for the reduction of debt. And those are a lot of conversations to have, whether they're on Zoom or not. It's not necessarily for me. I'm just thinking for any future board member, that just needs to be really understood when they are stepping in these additional leadership roles to advocate on behalf of the district. That's time. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. And I don't know if WASB and MASB and so forth have money that they could put towards paying for that.
Right. And I mean, that's a discussion that would, need to, I mean, it is what it is for right now, but I think that's a discussion that needs to be had on the WASB level.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I know one thing. You can come up with it.
Meals can come up. I think that's.
I think
Well,
that's.
it's the same as the,
Yeah, I
it's the
think that's
state,
like
the
some
state
kind of
sets the
standard
rate.
thing, yeah.
well, it's the same as the staff. This is the same as what the staff gets.
For real?
This is
It
what we
is.
get.
Yeah, the state needs to take a look at that.
Yeah, no kidding.
I know, 'cause that's what.
You're eating at Subway.
Yeah, it's somewhat expensive.
So that was the one that had the question. The other ones, I don't think any of them are questions. The drone one didn't have any questions. Last time it seems pretty, and this is the second read anyway, it seems pretty straightforward. That's 7440. And then Julie has helpfully labeled the rest of them active and updated so that you can kind of take a look at that. What the rest of those are. I think one of these is the electronic funds transfer. Oh, the electronic funds transfer one is actually exactly the same as our old policy. There has been no change. Neola said, when Julie asked them, Neola was like, well, we just sort of meant the old one was like a draft. And we were like, and yet that's been our policy for a long time. And they were like, well, good for you. But it's important that we periodically update our policies and we keep a record of that. And so this will go on record as just an examination of the policy, even though we're not adopting anything new. So we'll just vote on this policy, but there's been no change. That's 6108. And then 6700 is the nursing parents policy. Or, well, it's not. It's for fair labor standards, but it includes the nursing parents language. There were no questions about that last time, but perhaps there are this time. I don't know. So those are the ones we're looking at for a second read. And so the second read is really for questions, comments. We're not voting on those tonight. Do you have anything to add?
No.
Anybody else?
I did appreciate, because when I look at these dates, even if, as we're reviewing, I think with the equity lens and having the dates, if it's not looked at, and if the board doesn't look at it and have that date, then it still has 2014, a new board, or when there's more people, they won't know that you reviewed it, that you looked at it in 2023. And so I appreciate that you considered it board. So thank you for keeping it on there.
Well, thank you for giving solid guidance all the time.
Any other comments, questions?
That's just to compare NHS rules.
All right, just a huge thanks to Trustee Schindler as the chair of the policy subcommittee, and Trustee Goodrich and I also sit on that committee. And to Ms. Haynes, this has been a lot of work. And so we appreciate all the guidance, all the iterations of these documents to get us some clear policies that we could look at and feel comfortable moving forward to take action on. So thank you so much for your leadership, Trustee Schindler. Next, that takes us to our item number 11, under business and finance, the paving projects at Erickson, Perry, Shafford, and Ypsilanti Community High Schools.
Excuse me one moment, Madam President. I think I have an action item for 10 is the policy update vote.
I apologize. I skipped right over it. All that work.
I skipped over something earlier
Let's-
and I was like, where
Yes,
am I?
let's
Yeah,
take
it's all
action.
good.
Thank you. Let's back up and go to action, item number 10, which is the adoption of the Neola Policy Updates, Volume 36, number 2. Is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, Vice President, we move that the Board of Education adopt the Neola policy update as presented, volume 36, number 2, February 2022.
Thank you. A motion has been made by Vice President Lee. Is there support for this motion?
Is that supposed to be 2022 or?
No,
2022?
it's because it's from when it first came across the
Yep.
desk.
Oh, okay. I support Trustee Gainsley.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion made by Vice President Lee, supported by Trustee Gainsleigh. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Now we're at item 11. Is there a motion at this time for the paving projects at Erickson, Perry, Shafford, and Ypsilanti Community High School?
Madam President, Trustee Townsend, move that the Board of Education accept the recommendation for paving company for the paving projects at Erickson, Perry, Shafford, and YCHS for $877,000.
Thank you. A motion was made by Trustee Townsend. Is there support for this motion? Thank you. Supported by Trustee Fields. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next, that takes us to the electric infrastructure for EV vehicles. Is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, I move that the Board of Education accept the recommendation to have Harper Electric install the electrical infrastructure for the EV project for $197,500.
Thank you. A motion has been made by Trustee Goodrich. Is there support for this motion? Thank you. Supported by Trustee Fields. Any discussion on this item?
Yes, please. I have a silly question. But, okay. I think for buses? No, okay.
Yes, it's for the bus,
It's for
the
bus.
buses that we received the grants for the,
Okay, I thought,
Mhm.
okay. I want to ask a question.
Mhm.
What is, okay, say like when we had that ice,
Mhm.
you know how it just totally wiped out the power. Now, could that happen to the charger?
Yeah, and one of the considerations that we made, is how many buses we were willing to accept or that we applied for in the grant, was to make sure that we didn't rely too heavily on the technology of the bus. So only 1/3 of our fleet was EV with side. Keep our people, at 2/3, with some sort of technology. And making sure that.
Okay, so if it does happen, what company would be responsible for getting it turned back on?
If you were referring to the loss of power, it would be DCC.
Okay.
That is our. One thing to note is that, that segment or that part of the grid, that serves a lot of the corridor of Michigan out, has, I don't know much about it, but it's been very reliable relative to the electric system. We all have experience with the iPhone, those are outliers, but still something.
Well, are these buses, are they like electric and gas or just plain electric?
No, man, all of that is part of the plan is that they have 100% electric.
Okay. You really.
We have
Okay.
a lot to do. We've done a lot of research, done a lot of folks that have for many years, and so we're very happy.
Yeah, now how far will they go on a chart?
They will cover all of our routes with plenty of remainder, even in the older system. So we've been mindful of that and making sure that we're not asking you to purchase a technology that cannot serve.
Okay, Mr. Rosen, answer me now. How far will they go on the chart? How many hours?
I don't have the information directly offhand. I know that on a cold, very cold day, some of their lowest numbers have been around 60 to 80 miles, I believe. You don't have to
Okay. All right.
It looks like Randy has the answer. Randy Trent?
30.
80 miles.
Okay, that's.
And that'll be how many hours?
Randy, do you know how many hours?
I don't.
Mileage.
Okay.
We remind people about our long. Without power.
Right.
All right, now, DCC, you hear that? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Good
Mr.
question,
Rose.
good question.
She knew I didn't know that.
No, those are good questions.
No, those are good.
Really good questions. Any other board questions or comments?
Thank you.
So a motion was made by trustee Goodrich, supported by trustee Fields. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next, that takes us to the electric EV charger. Is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, trustee Townsend, move that the Board of Education accept the recommendation for the ABB chargers and software from Mercer for $229,440.
Thank you. A motion has been made by trustee Townsend. Is there support for this motion?
Support trustee Goodrich.
Thank you. Supported by trustee Goodrich. Any discussion on this item?
Dr. Huggins, I do have one more easy question.
Yes, go ahead.
When we were, awarded the buses, from the FTA, they mentioned that they were gonna help districts, secure grants to support some of the charging infrastructure. Have we been successful in getting any of those grants?
To the point that, the entire project is cost the district, $500,000, which is 2 years worth of buses. So this is a 2-year payoff. And the buses itself, we purchased in, warranty for 5 years. It's free, the bank, battery itself has 8 years. So we're expecting, over the course of, this purchase here, to offset this.
I have a question also.
Sure.
With the charges, do you think they can go off of, well, not satellite, but, what do you call those? Solar.
We are not going forward. We're in a great position with regards to the primary service that we have at the Little Run complex. We paid 7 cents kilowatt, which is extremely, relative to like, get a house. So, great infrastructure, putting the line better. Many districts that were awarded the grant, the grant itself can't even cover the cost of bringing the infrastructure. So we're in a great position.
Thank you.
All right. A motion was made by trustee Townsend, supported by trustee Goodrich. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the electric vehicle, the 10 EV buses. Is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, trustee Townsend move that the Board of Education accepts the recommendation from Hoekstra Bus to provide the EV buses for $3,671,730.
Thank you. A motion has been made by trustee Townsend. Is there support for this motion? Supported by trustee Fields. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next, that takes us to the half-ton maintenance vehicle. Is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, this is trustee Goodrich. I move that the Board of Education accept the recommendation to purchase a half-ton maintenance vehicle, the F-150 from Gene Buttman for $38,762.28.
Thank you. A motion has been made by trustee Goodrich. Is there support for this motion? Supported by, thank you, supported by trustee Fields. Any discussion on this item? Mr. Rose, what does general fund concurrent with sinking fund mean? I know what concurrent means, but I'm just wondering what the budget impact is. Is it all sinking fund, or is there some sinking fund in combination with general fund dollars? Okay. Oh, okay. Tell me again what the budget impact is. What is the budget impact?
100%.
It's 100% general fund. Okay, so the sinking fund should not be in there.
No.
Okay,
The only thing that we can maybe, something to consider is that our operational, budget, is something that we support, through our project.
uh-huh.
We're able to offset that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Rose. Thank you, Mr. Rose. A motion was made by trustee Goodrich, supported by trustee Fields. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next, that takes us to another maintenance vehicle request. Is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, this is trustee Goodrich. I move that the Board of Education accept the recommendation to purchase a 3/4 ton maintenance vehicle, the F-350 from Gene Butman for $47,966.56.
Thank you. A motion has been made by trustee Goodrich. Is there support for this motion?
Support trustee Gainsley?
Thank you. Supported by trustee Gainsly. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next, that takes us to the acceptance of the 180 program for Ypsilanti Community Middle School. Is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, this is trustee Goodrich. I move that the Board of Education accepts the 180 program for the YCMS proposal for $62,542.50.
Thank you. A motion has been made by trustee Goodrich. Is there support for this motion?
Support, trustee.
Motion made by trustee Goodrich, supported by vice president Lee. Any discussion on this item?
Yes, can we have some discussion, please?
Yes. Go ahead. Do you have a question?
So
or-
I'm just trying to understand. It says the 180 program entails push in, push out, small groups, one-on-one, whole group prevention and intervention. So is this something that's all in-house that will be done at the school or?
Great, we have the CEO here. Dr. Johnson.
So much for trying to hide behind the sycamore tree, right? Excuse my face. I've been wearing this mask all day. Good evening. I know it's late, so I don't want to belabor you. Thank you for having me. This is an unofficial visit. I informed the superintendent I would be coming just to sit in. I work in Lansing, so it's a straight trip here, going back into Detroit. The 180 program is a program that I started personally about 20 years ago. Actually, it was in 2004. It is a behavior modification and professional development system. We started in 2004, where we were dealing with conflict resolution, peer mediation, problem solving, anger management. In 2007, we caught the attention of New York, NBC Universal Studios, and they contracted me to come in and employ the same exact tactics that we were using in the greater Detroit area on the Maury Show. And so for the Maury Show for 13 seasons, with no more hair, me and Dr. Carlos have the same barber. We were on television, still on television to this day, employing those skills for conflict resolution education. Since the COVID, we have implemented since the COVID pandemic, we implemented social emotional learning, which was huge. We had already been using that prior to the buzzword of social emotional learning. And directly to your question, there is a pullout. There is a entire school-wide behavior support system that we employ. And that looks like classroom monitoring, arrival monitoring, dismissal monitoring, lunchroom monitoring, push into the classroom to offer support, instructional support. A lot of times when you talk about learning, achieving, and succeeding, we can't get to that unless we deal with those behavioral problems at an instructional level. So we would come in and provide a presence inside the instructional. That's the push in. Also, all of our staff are certified tutors, so they can offer that instructional support for the instructor, also while maintaining the behavior, managing behavior inside the classroom. There's the hallway monitoring, making sure we went into the schools a couple weeks ago, those young people, making sure, giving them the discipline, making sure they walk along the correct side of hallways, not running, not playing around, not pulling the hair, et cetera, and all the things that our beautiful children can do. And many of them we have done ourselves. So that answers directly to your point. And then there's a whole group. There might be a group of students that need some type of counseling and mentoring, so we can pull those students out as well. Small groups, it may be students who are conflicting with each other. As they say, beefing, somebody says something on social media, et cetera, we pull them out, whoever is involved, and we deal with those situations. We know that is huge, especially at the middle school level, prior to them even getting to the high school level. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it did. So
Okay.
this is all, so basically you all will be putting staff into the schools to help support the kids
Absolutely.
with the behavior.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay.
My specific question is related to how does the 180 program complement positive behavior intervention and supports already in the school?
So first of all, we have to at least introduce ourselves. That's the first step, to see what everybody's doing. And the principal over there, she indicated, she showed us different supports that she've already had. Ours is a little bit different. It works on a systematic structure. There's certain trainings that we've already had, social emotional learning, trauma-informed support. There's just a plethora of, and all this we went through. I'm sorry, I don't have I do have the presentation, but I did present before the superintendent and also before the middle school. To answer your question directly, we first have to see what systems are in place and see how we can actually assist them in whatever's already existing. There is, we did see some room for growth. I'll just say it like that, in partnership with the other existing vendors that are in there.
More questions, comments?
So I see on this invoice is from effective today. And so this is something that we are trying until the end of the school year.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Dr. Johnson has worked with most of our principals in different districts before. I know he's worked with, when I worked in Muskegon Heights, his team would drive 3 hours to work with our district. He's worked with he worked with your district. He worked, in Ann Arbor with when Charles,
We worked in, to be honest and be clear, I think I submitted that to you. We worked in 25 different states, 36 different school districts.
most of our principals have worked with him.
We've been around 20 years. And I must say that we have a great reputation. We have had no complaints, no improprieties, no lawsuits, nothing. 20 years straight in urban education. And if you know anything about it, I'm sure you all do because you all are smart, you know that it's pretty good, especially here in Michigan, in the greater Detroit area.
So the staff that you're providing, I'm trying to, so with this, when we talk about disciplinary and things like that, I'm trying to understand, when we look at staff, are we looking at staff that, is it male, female, or is it?
Great question, great
You
question.
know, because when we start looking at referrals and stuff, what students do we have that are getting high disciplinary referrals, those types of things? And how your program
Great.
will provide.
So we
positive
always
outcomes.
provide at least one female
Okay.
for the female component of the student, the genders. And I'm glad you asked that, and I wish I had more time, and I don't want to belabor you again. We do a student audit every 30 days. Anytime that we interact with a student, we have a form. I wish I could show it to you. It is a behavior interaction form. Whatever it is with the student, whether we are trying to redirect, whether we're trying to correct, whether we're saying hello, what's going on, is everything okay? We document it. At the end of the month, you'll see what the behavior was, where was that, what the name of who the student is, the grade, the time, what was the behavior that was in question, what was the actual corrective response. It could be, hey, I redirected the student, I corrected the student, I called the parent, I referred the student to the dean office or to the discipline office, et cetera. And so on that sheet, at the end of the month, we create a student audit. So you all will see when it's reporting time, exactly what the trends are in the school. What are the behaviors? Is the students who are running around? In this particular school district, they allow to have your hoods on, and that was something that we had to make sure was okay because some students are cold. But if that was the case, student having hoods on, student have a coat on, students who are running the plane during transition, you will have a comprehensive diagram showing exactly what the behaviors are and what were the corrective actions for those students. How many students, whether it's boy or girl, what grade level, whether it's the 6th grade, 7th grade, you'll see you have a complete picture, comprehensive picture of analyzed data showing exactly what the behavior is in the school every single month.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. So a motion has been made by trustee Goodrich, supported by Vice President Lee.
No. Not for. Oh, I guess I do.
Okay. You still want to support it?
Well, okay. Now that I see what this is, I thought it was curriculum. I really didn't look at it that much.
Because we have the read 180 as well.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was,
Mm-hmm.
to read 180. And I really, okay. You're bringing this gentleman, he may be great, he may be fantastic, but, and then he's bringing staff into the building with the kids.
Yeah,
I
to
don't
support our,
know.
to support our students.
To support our staff.
Mhm.
I don't know anything about him.
Right.
He didn't bring any presentation.
Well, he's presented to Ms. Neal. He's presented to our staff. Ms. Neal is asking for him to come.
Okay. Well, Ms. Mills, not even here. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. That's not. I don't even know any, only thing he got in front of us is a quote on a price. I don't see any materials or anything about this program.
Right. They've given the whole staff a presentation.
Yeah, I think this is the recommendation coming from the district and through the principal,
Absolutely.
but they've already presented to Dr. Zachary.
And
Ross
been to the building.
and, to Ms. Neal.
Yeah.
And there's a PDF in the packet.
Right.
Okay,
PDF.
In the packet.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
But if you have more questions, even after going through it, I know that Dr. Zachary Ross would be.
We definitely will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will,
Is that okay with you?
that's okay. I will
Okay.
talk to Dr. Zachary else about it.
Okay.
Yeah, we get, the whole presentation is,
So she can, it's attached here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I will talk to Dr. Zachary else about it.
Okay. Okay, so a motion was made by trustee Goodrich, supported by Vice President Lee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next, that takes us to our second public comment portion for this evening. Did any public comment cards come in the same? Okay, thank you for checking. Next, that takes us to, our discussion. Any Board of Education Subcommittee reports at this time?
Yes, I met with the Head Start on Friday the 17th.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Bradley started the meeting. She did the, numbers, the budget and everything, and then, she talked about the nutrition meals that they serve. They serve, Beatty, Ford, and Perry breakfast. They serve 2,735.
Mm-hmm.
Snacks and lunch, they serve 2,733. So if your child is picking apples, oranges, green beans, and broccoli over potato chips,
Mhm.
blame it on YCS because we got your back, you know? So, yeah. And then, WISD carryover ESSA funds is being used to purchase playground equipment for Perry and security equipment for Ford. So, and then, let's see. Oh, and Beatty, Ford, and Perry will be getting outdoor classroom furniture soon. Apparently, they're starting an outdoor classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And Ms. Bradley is looking into additional funding for Okie suits and rain boots. So, yes. And I'm like, oh, so the kids are gonna be outside? And she said, yes. So apparently they're gonna be outside, rain, snow, sun shining. And I'm like, okay. So there'll be future meetings and she's gonna be discussing that with us and how long they'll be outside. So I don't know if it'll be 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 30 minutes, but we'll find that out more. And I'm like, ooh, okay. So this is new to me. So I don't know about that. And then the vacancy came up because the vice chairperson had to step down due to family obligation. So, we're looking for a parent to fill that position again. So in our next meeting will be Wednesday, April 19th at 9 o'clock, because that Friday, the 21st, the district will be out on a professional development.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Vice President Lee. Any other subcommittee reports? Yes, trustee Goodrich and then trustee Gainsbourg.
Thanks, Madam President. I just have a quick report out from the WASD Legislative Relations Network. The legislative breakfast took place this morning. Superintendent Zachary Ross, trustee Townsend, trustee Gainsley, and I were all able to attend. I think we were the best represented district there. They introduced the new officers for the WASB. President is Tom Rollins. Christian Frade is of Tom Rollins of Lincoln. Christian Frade of Milan is the vice president. Our own Janice Townsend continues as secretary treasurer, and Michael McVeigh of Saline is the new legislative relations network coordinator. Congresswoman Debbie Dingell was in attendance. Annie Somerville was there for Senator Irwin, and then Representatives Morgan, Reigans, and Schenck were also present and took part in the conversation. We had I thought, a great presentation from Superintendent Naomi Norman, and I've asked her to share the slides. It's mostly my school's data, but I thought it was a useful way of visualizing some of the relevant facts and demographics around the districts and other schools in our within WISD. We had, as always, Superintendent Zachary Ross was a great advocate and spokesperson for the kinds of issues that our district and districts like ours are facing. And it was very clear from Representatives Morgan and Schenck that they're hearing this message and advocating on our behalf in Lansing. We also talked about upcoming special education millage that will be coming from WISD in 2024 when 2 current millages expire. Also about the need for CTE and the value of placing CTE within local districts. And we had a good discussion about teacher shortage and budget. The continuing theme in a lot of the LRN events has been that we need to coordinate our efforts. And one, I guess, new thing to me that came out today more strongly was the need to put pressure not just on our legislators, but also on the governor's office to help advance the priorities of our county and also of our district. Next legislative breakfast is scheduled for May 22nd. And did I forget anything, anybody? Thank you. That's all.
I just have a quick question. Has the WISD considered having a hybrid option for these legislative breakfasts, or has that not come up?
I think trustee Townsend can probably speak to that better than I can.
Yes, they have. I think with this one, because of the last meeting, because of the storm, they didn't do it for this time around. But the board of directors meetings are hybrid. Of course, anybody can attend those, but I will definitely talk to Superintendent Norman just to make sure that when we have the next one, that it is hybrid.
Okay, thank you. Any other subcommittee reports?
Sure. Yes, Dr. Hudson.
Yes, I know you're next. I was wondering who's gonna be after you.
Oh,
but-
sure. I have one.
Okay, then it will be trustee Shelter. Go ahead.
So quick update on the Ypsilanti Community Schools Foundation. Last week's meeting was, or last month's meeting was a lot of fun because all of the teachers who had received grants through the mini grant program came and just gave a quick update on what they had done with their mini grant. So YCSF was able to award $10,000 in mini grants this year to YCS teachers. We're hoping to, our goal is to double that next year and be able to award $20,000 in mini grants. So that went to, I can't remember the exact number, but dozens of teachers across all of our buildings. And man, you would be just astounded at what our educators can do with their creativity and a couple $100. Really amazing things for our kids. So that was fun. And then we also, the scholarships are open currently. Scholarship applications are available for students who can apply for scholarships through YCSF. DJ Sharif, who at the high school is stepping down from the board. She's still high school, but she's stepping down from the YCSF board. She's been the head of our scholarship committee. So she's going to continue to work with students, I think through her staff role. Herman Humes, who is a new member to the board, but a longtime Ypsilanti educator, has stepped up to be the new head of the scholarship committee. So DJ is staying on to make sure that Herman's fully on board, but those scholarships are available. And when I get home, I'll go ahead and make sure that that link is available to all of the folks on this board, so that if you know any students who are interested in scholarships, so that they can apply.
Thank you, Trustee Schindler.
Thank you, Madam President. So you all know what the policy committee's been up to. And then the SEEB, the Sex Ed Advisory Board, met a couple weeks ago. Dr. Lopez is leading that. And my big takeaway from that was that we're going to try to figure out a way to get more students involved. It was a pretty small meeting, but that work continues. Dr. Lopez, was there anything more? Like peer educators. Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Any other subcommittee reports? All right, seeing none, thank you everyone for all your work. Lots going on. Next, we have board superintendent comments. Any comments from the board?
Yes, Madam President. Just a reminder to everyone, we will be having, I don't know if this is 25, 26 years, our annual community Easter egg hunt, which is sponsored by African-American organizations such as the African-American Greek community, as well as other social groups and YCS. It will be this Saturday, April 8th at Perry School from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. We have games, prizes, food, drinks, face painting, music, health screening, hustles, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Ton of prizes. The Easter egg bunny is here. I picked him up from Clinton Township. He's ready to go. And we've had a major, this event has grown over the year. Last year we had almost 400 kids. This year we're expecting more, but a special shout out to all of those organizations: Washtenaw County, Michigan Medicine, Housing Commission, Ypsilanti District Library, Eastern, Park Ridge Community Center, Habitat. I mean, the list is going on and on and on. And even today, so I have to go home and finish working up on this. And I left you all flyers. I have additional ones that you all can share. Please come out. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. So that's that. And then there was something else I wanted to share, but my birthday is this week. I don't remember nothing else. So it's I'm sharing my birthday with the Lord this year. So just come on out. I would love to see you all. Oh, Mr. Rose, I do want to personally thank you for organizing all of the tours of the buildings. It was very, very, important and informative for us, when making these decisions. It makes it easier because now it, it just puts things in a better perspective. So I appreciate you taking time out of your day, even on everybody else's break. We were out there last week. So thank you so much. And that's it.
Other board comments?
I-
Yes.
It's gonna piggyback on, what Denise said. I was able to make some of the building tours as well, and even went on the Will and Ron tour that we had, and it was very good information to see the behind the scenes of what Mr. Rose doing, and for taking that time out for that as well. Good information. If you've never been to some of the schools on that backside, it was good to see that and know what hard work they're trying to do to get everything up and running and, utilizing those funds that we're getting, taking care of the schools and the ground. So that was fun. Also, we had the opportunity, I was on the panel for the voting for the slate for the WAC, congratulations. Yeah. She's representing us well, Trustee Townsend, and so that was exciting being a part of that as well. And that's all.
Yeah. Trustee Sherman.
Oh, go ahead. Mine, I was just going to, I imagine that the superintendent will fill us in on the transportation stuff, but I just wanted to
Oh, yeah.
make sure that I was just moved by I'm concerned by the comments, and I know that we've had trouble with transportation, and I know that we're trying, but I don't know if there's anything that can be addressed tonight to the board to talk more about it, but I just wanted to put that out there that I know that there are things in place, but I didn't realize that there were families that had been that affected, so. That's all.
Other board members? Yes.
I just wanted to congratulate the ACE robotics team. It was really fun to watch that unfold, and it's great to see a new team do such great work.
Any other comments? I just have a few. In addition to the tours, because one of the tours that we were on, I had to leave to go to the Ypsilanti Community Middle School had a culmination of their March's Literacy Month. They had their pep rally. They had a wonderful dance presentation that was put together. You would have thought it would have been months of preparation, but the students did an amazing job with that. Wanted to also thank Mr. Rose, thank Ms. Haynes, thank Superintendent and everybody else who was involved in making sure that the tours were organized for the school board. I'm not sure if I'm not tracking on the date of this. Trustee Townsend, was the YCS, the Realtor breakfast, was that the last? I don't know if we covered it at the last meeting. So I'm like, everything's running together on me. Was that?
I'm about to be 49, Dr. Hart. I don't. It was last month. So
It
I think
was.
we talked about it.
Okay, good,
Yeah,
good.
so I think, yeah.
All right.
That's what we're gonna say.
Perfect. All right. I want to mention a couple of things. All of you get the same emails from MASB. The spring meeting is coming up at the end of this month in Lansing. I'll be attending that. April 11th, they have a virtual workshop. I'm attending that as well. So they're sending and pushing out a lot of good workshops that are coming up. So pay attention to your emails, register if you can, for all the great workshops that they're offering. We have some acknowledgements for board members who have been attending conferences over the past year. So I just want to recognize, in this order that is on the list that we have from MASB, letting us know that our board members have achieved district award distinctions. We have Maria Goodrich, Trustee Goodrich, who received the level 3 award of distinction and the data skills specialty. We have Vice President Lee, who received the level 4 Master Board Member Award and the data skills specialty. And we have Trustee Townsend, who received the level 1 Certified Board Member Award and the level 2 Award of Merit. So congratulations to all of you. You want to see? Go right ahead. I think that is everything that I wanted to cover. If I missed anything, I'll come back to it. Superintendent Zachary Ross.
Thank you, Madam President. Certainly, Trustee Schindler, definitely was concerned, and we know that it seems like every meeting we talk about transportation, and we have certainly, I know, thank you, Director Rose, for taking on the transportation director, role since the director left in January. We've been working on, transportation this entire year, and that's part of the early retirement we know that happened with the director. And we've been looking at the contract and adding additional services through there and back. So we've already added services. We know with our contract board, I remind you again, we cannot change routes. So when they asked about changing routes, that's part of our contract with our union. We cannot change routes. So they talked about with the eastern side of the district, that's part of the union contract. We can't, the director does not have that, the ability to do that. And so with us having call-offs and shortages in drivers, we can't just randomly change the routes and ask drivers to move those things. We have looked into adding additional services. We use there and back, but there are shorter, they're small buses. They're 15 passengers, so we can't use them to pick up full routes. So we do use them for the shorter routes, but to use them to pick up like a Ford, they cannot do that. And so there's no other transportation service providers in this area. We do use and pay extraordinarily. We're over $1 million over in transportation right now, because even for our athletics, you see the black buses. We don't even use our own transportation services. We use private services to do athletics, because we do prioritize our own students to make sure that they can go. Every day we're canceling routes. And we try to do that with high schools. Unfortunately, I know your grandchildren are impacted. We try to do that with the older students who can take the buses. We offer bus passes, and unfortunately that hits our older students who can take public transportation, and we don't want to do that with them either. But of course, we feel like we try to do that with the older students. And so, no, we don't want to, all of our students to me I don't want any of them to miss school. I don't want any of them impacted. But instead they are. We know that with transportation, and we're working as best as we can. But when we don't have people to be able to drive the bus, and we have the staffing shortages, we have been looking, as I mentioned to you in the past, we've been looking at the driver company, additional company who can give us drivers, because we have buses, we don't have drivers. And so I don't have a license to drive. People have emailed me and say, can you drive? No, I cannot drive a bus, and you don't want me to drive a bus, to be quite frank, because I have enough anxiety driving a car. But I don't have the drivers, and the drivers call off. And so that is sometimes why the ones who call off for certain reasons, I don't know. And I do appreciate, because I don't want my drivers who double up, who come in. I don't want them to feel by me saying this, that they are not appreciated. So I will tell them, those who have been coming diligently, who come in at 5 a.m. and try to call and pick up students who are on the side of the road. Thank you, drivers. Thank you, monitors. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because I want them to know that those who are coming every day, And those who try and have take the brunt of it and take the negativity, I don't want them to feel at all that they are not appreciated. Because the last board meeting, when a parent came in here and talked about it, we had several of them sitting in the back row and they thought we had contracted services. These are our own drivers. We don't have contracted services. We have parents who work here. They are our own drivers. We don't have any other service, and that's why you have tried to improve. We bought the leased buses. We have the best buses and on the roads. We have the best buses in the area. We just have to get more drivers. We go down the street, we advertise, we pay higher than all the other places. And we still find ourselves in the same situation. And so we are doing as best as we can within our contract. We are doing as much as we can. We can't pay more in the middle of a year because we have a contract. So we can't just randomly pay more when we have a contract as well. And so if we've asked, can people give us more ideas to do that?
Well, that was what I was wondering. I mean, is there a way to, alert, I don't know, if there's a family at Ford where the kids haven't come in, like they once a week,
I don't,
can
that
we-
was new to me, and I know the principal was there, because they can pool if they want to, but we don't personally do
what-
that. They have a new PTO there. And
that's what I
so
was
they
wondering
can
if they
work
have,
with
like,
their
a little-
PTO.
Yeah, like they can say, hey,
Yes,
yeah.
they can work with their PTO. I know some other buildings have been doing that. I wish again that we could solve that problem with our own transportation, but in the meantime, they do have the new PTO. They also have, I saw the newcomer program there, and so Dr. Lopez can work with the newcomer. That was why I was surprised when I saw I'm like, that's the whole community, and we have the whole community together. And so I was like, wow, I'm just surprised because typically the whole group is usually very unified. So I was like, okay, maybe they could think about carpooling, because we carpooled a whole group of them together to the park for something else. And I was thinking, why couldn't we do that to get to school? And so we did it, for the thing at Wise that we did for I was like, So there are creative ways, and because school, to me, we've got to get students to school. That you can't learn if you're not at school. And part of it is even the safety, just being safe. We don't want people at home. We need people, a lot of our students come to school to get their meals and just being safe. And so we want our students at school know that if there's even other places that people know of, or that we can contract with bus services or other services, we are happy to do so. We have been paying for, as Ruth Jordan was just here, we've been cabbing students. It's been very expensive, but we've been working and doing quite a bit, because we have the #1 homeless population in the county, as you all know. So we've been working diligently with our population. And so know that we are taking it very seriously and working and thank you, Director Rose, because he's doing 2 director programs, and he's here now and has to be up early. Our conversations start very early in the morning with transportation, because again, the having to know what routes we can run every morning and he can run is that challenge. And I know those parents every day, and some of you are impacted by that,
Right.
to know what buses we can run. And the parents are challenged by that. And it just,
And when do they know?
When we know.
No, we don't, but they don't know. you know?
That's what I'm saying, when we know.
No, well, no, I said, but some of them don't even know that you're not coming. They're out there waiting. They're out there waiting.
They
They're
get-
waiting. I'm telling you what I know. They're out there waiting. They don't even get a call. They just all of a sudden know, oh, the bus didn't come. An hour later, we don't have that call. We don't, I can just speak from experience. You don't get that call. We don't get that feedback. And it's not saying anything about, trying to say that, but that's not consistent. That's all.
It's still not consistent. Mr. Rose, can we address that again? Because I know that I've, so where are where are you sending out the information?
Last time I checked, the app wasn't working, but that was a while ago. So I was surprised to learn that it is working.
Yeah.
It's great.
What's this consistency with the app? I mean, like, you see in Power School and they're talking about the buses, but then once there's no school, you'll get that one. Is there a connection between those two? Because if there isn't, maybe you should make one, because we get those calls. Like there's a snow day, we don't have a school the next day. We're consistent with those texts when they come across. But then when we come to the buses, you're not consistent with that. Are they not?
One thing that we do is to not bother you every day, is the parent of carry, and there's one bus that's not under carry, is that we have converted trams out of listed, and then school goes in our school and goes out. So it only goes out to the parents of students who are listed to that bus, so that we don't bring that phone and then, keep you guys to where, and things to go phone calls to get them.
Right.
So we took that extra step, to make sure that this go out to every parent who goes out. Maybe that's the stuff, we should have just on this day, I would encourage.
I think for me, it's more the middle school and high school. My granddaughter walks, she lives right across the street. But when they go to the middle school and high school, that was at one time, it's like, well, I didn't go to school, all the bus they come. I'm like, and that was just too often for me.
Since I've been there January 9th, that's something that I make sure that the village about, because communication is important, for it, to hire drivers, drivers.
And just a couple of notes that I would just want to make, and some of this is one of these is for the future. One, I mean, the transportation is a challenge, period. And I think everybody is doing the very best they can with an imperfect situation. I think a bigger conversation by way of a study session, maybe that we engage in as a board, needs to happen. We need to come together to be innovative and creative and thoughtful about what ideas we can put forward to bring some solutions to the table. And perhaps that expands to inviting members of the community who are really upset. And I would be too if my kid, because many of our parents rely on transportation. In connection to the study session, if that's the route the board wants to take, I would also just put on the table that, and I could be wrong, so Mr. Rose and Dr. Zachary Ross can correct me if I am. I think one challenge that we're faced with that we maybe haven't talked about is the fact that when we brought transportation in-house and we had this session about how we wanted transportation to look across the district a few years ago, we also opened it up to do transportation and cross routes. And crossing routes means that we are spending a lot of money on children who don't live in the neighborhood where their school is, and they are going across. That is just, I mean, that's just a reality. So as we're thinking, I don't. is
Can
that
I address
accurate?
that?
Yes.
When the board voted, it was before the pandemic, and when we bought the number of buses we had, we did satellites. So we would bring them to one school and then satellite them out. Now, with the number of buses and we have less drivers, we're driving directly to all these schools. So we don't have enough drivers nor enough buses to do what we currently are doing. Just remind you, before we were doing that, that was what National Bus had us doing. We would drive, for example, we would go to Erickson and pick up all the students whose home school is Erickson and drive satellite them to the multiple places. Now we're literally having the router route them everywhere. That was not how this is constructed. We were doing satellites
Right, why did it change?
after the pandemic.
But why did it change after the pandemic?
Because it was just because how originally we were doing small numbers. Because of the
It just came out.
pandemic.
Oh,
Yeah,
so it needs a reset, maybe.
yes. It just happened after the,
Yeah.
Gotcha,
so this is why we're ended up like this.
gotcha.
Because it just like, we started off coming back with only a certain number of students, like it just, the iteration of how we came back.
I think something too that we need to consider is this particular school, Ford, has now come to the table twice. We need to take a pause and have an intentional conversation with their families to make sure that we can address the issues as quickly as possible. We know we have a higher population of people that are from different cultures, things like that, speak different. We have some language barriers, those types of things. And, you know, it is definitely something that has now, when you come to me twice, we gotta do something.
Who's come twice?
They came last month too. It was a parent.
Oh.
Yeah, so, we definitely need to figure something out, or, you know, if it's a situation about the number not being right, then we need to figure that out. And then we need to figure something out in regards to getting kids to school, regardless to what our situation is, because if we don't, that could open up other issues, and we don't want that.
So my recommendation is, in consideration for the board, is for us as a next step, is to think about scheduling a date to engage in a study session.
Yeah.
And we have the one meeting a month, so we have room on our schedule monthly to be able to schedule one or even two more meetings, depending on how many we feel like we need to talk about this, so we can go deeper into this discussion about transportation, because we know it's a challenge and we have a new school year that's coming up. So it would be good to have the conversation and come up with maybe some viable solutions or proposals to how we might think innovatively or differently about transportation in the upcoming academic year.
Just to clarify the board there's a lot we can't impact about this current year because of the existing contract. So the district's going to continue to do everything they can, but I definitely.
Yeah, I meant for next year. That's what I said.
Appreciate your suggestion, and I'm
Yep.
glad we're getting ahead of it so that we can, implement those changes for the new year.
For the new year, yep. Yep, not a whole lot we can do, but we can be, I empathize. I know that probably falls short for people who are dealing with it every day. So I'm mindful of, just issuing an apology when I really don't have a solution. I struggle with that, but I know the district's intention is not to just not pick kids up, to not get kids to school. That's what we do. We're in the business of education. And so when we fall short, I think just like with any of us, we all want grace when we fall short. And the district is probably not at all satisfied with the services that they're being able to provide, but we also don't have, we can't create people either. Like they're not just beating down the doors. I
And
mean,
it's
so
not been any route
yeah,
that has been canceled every day for a week.
it's a challenge.
Just know that there's not been a route. Yes, and that's why we need to have, that's why I asked Dr. Lopez he will follow up with that team.
I really give credit to young man who had to translate.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
just really getting everything they're saying, but giving us enough to.
Well, that's why we have a newcomer center too. So that's why there's a bigger breakdown because there's a whole new, that's why we have the newcomer center.
Yep.
Because there's some other pieces to that we should fix.
Yeah.
So there's some pieces that we need to take care of. That's a purpose of why we have that. So there's some investigation that we need to do on it.
Yes, because the multi-tier system support should have been
Think,
on it.
yeah, there's some things that we need to put.
Mhm.
And I don't understand them. Well, okay.
Did you finish with all your comments?
I think I'll just hold them. Thank you.
You sure?
Yes,
Okay. We go back to the agenda.
I think it's time.
Before we move to the last item on the agenda, which is our adjournment, are there any other board comments at this time? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned at 9:18 PM. Do you need this?